Call to order the Avon Town Council meeting for May 25th, 2023. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Kathy, would you mind taking a roll call, please?
Greg Zuzen.
Present.
Don Loudon.
Present.
Robert Pope.
Present.
Tim Roberts.
Present.
Steve Eisenbarth.
First item, our Pride Month proclamation. Ryan, are you speaking to this one, or Kathy?
Kathy went to read it.
All right.
I was just kidding. I'm sorry, Kathy. Proclamation of the Town of Avon, Pride Month Proclamation. Whereas the Town of Avon recognizes a history of the LGBTQ liberation movement and to support the rights of all citizens to experience equality and freedom from discrimination, and whereas all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights, and LGBTQ individuals have had immeasurable impact to the cultural, civic, and economic successes of our country and community. And whereas the Town of Avon is committed to supporting visibility, dignity, and equality for LGBTQ people in our diverse community. And whereas this nation was founded on the principles that every individual has infinite dignity and worth, and the Avon Town Council calls upon the people of this community to embrace this principle and work to eliminate discrimination everywhere it exists. And whereas celebrating Pride Month influences awareness and provides support and advocacy for our LGBTQ neighbors, and is an opportunity to take action and engage in dialogue to strengthen alliances, build acceptance, and advance equal rights. Now, therefore, the Town Council of Avon does hereby proclaim the month of June 2023 as Pride Month in support of the LGBTQ community. Proclaim this 25th day of May in the year 2023 by the Town Council of Avon.
Thank you, Ryan. Usually we hand these off to Trilby. Would you like to? You were the one that requested this. Would you like to receive this? We haven't signed it yet.
We haven't signed it and did it, so if Trilby wouldn't mind, we could. I'd like to get it to her later. Also, since Julie wasn't here, we don't have the fancy, cool star and seal that Julie normally puts on it. So, if we could follow up and do that, Trilby, I'd be happy to coordinate to get the actual proclamation to you later.
Sounds
that would
good.
be okay.
And do you have the correct names on there?
You looked at it earlier. We got that fixed. Yes. Yes.
There was an old Aaron TV ball on my copy.
Where did you get your copy from?
Well, you know what? I went to the website, you know.
Trilby, you'd like to speak. Please go ahead.
Anyway, thank you, I want to say, and I appreciate your counsels for the 2023 Pride Proclamation. Our Avon community is made up of all different kinds of people, including us, your friendly LGBTQ. So I see you, the council, celebrating part of our whole diverse Avon community. Know that inclusion will always help make people feel part of the whole. From the bottom of my queer heart, thank you.
Thanks, Trilby. Next, moving on. Next item, the consent agenda, which includes our check register for today's meeting, our May 11th work session minutes, and our May 11th council meeting minutes. Any questions or anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the check register for May 25th, 2023, the work session minutes from May 11th, 2023, and the approval of the minutes from May 11th, 2023.
I'll second. Kathy, would you mind taking a roll call vote, please?
Robert Pope.
4.
Greg Zuzen.
4.
Tim Roberts.
4.
Next item on the, I screwed up. I think Dan helped me fix this. I forgot to include verbally the annual determination of needs of assessed value from the RDC and our dam bond debt payoff. Do we need to make a second motion to include those?
I'd feel better, and it's the dam project bond payoff, not the dam bond payoff. I might say,
I am reading it for lines, so
I know you're reading what's there, I just might
we're going to
say it
answer the
differently.
question. If it was written here, I was going to read it. Okay.
So perhaps just clarify that was
Roger that.
included in the approval of consent agenda.
I screwed up, so I'll make that
You
motion.
say whatever you want, Robert. I would just say dam project bond payoff.
I screwed up. I'll make the motion that we also approve the annual determination of need for assessed value and the damned project debt payoff. The dam project debt payoff
Bond.
bond. Thank you. We'll get it right one of these
I'll
times.
second that.
Thank you, Tim. Kathy, would you take a roll call vote, please?
4.
4.
4.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the first of 2 public comment opportunities. You may comment on items on the agenda that are not a public hearing or on a specific matter within the council's jurisdiction. Please come forward to the microphone, state your name and address, and limit your time to 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Mike Ford, live at 7712 Carpenter Court. Last time I got to speak to you was March 23rd. It was regarding the intersection down the north intersection at Fairwood and Dan Jones Road and Augusta Drive. Well, today I actually got a pleasant surprise. On my way north to work at my church, I got stuck on State Road 267 for some paving. Now on the way home, about 11:30, I got stuck on Dan Jones Road, just south of County Road 200, Bradford Road. And I thought, wow, maybe they're painting the stripes here after 20 months. Well, to my pleasant surprise, they were actually milling off part of the road, not only the Augusta entrance, but also the Fairwood Drive entrance. So I really had one slide to put up tonight, but I was informed that I can't do that anymore. I got to be on the agenda or something. But it was 2 words, thank you. I want to thank the council for getting the job done. I want to thank Ryan Cannon for his spearheading it. And I also want to thank Steve Moore back here and the Department of Transportation or whatever. And anybody else that had a hand basically in getting that intersection in good shape. Now, I did drive up there tonight and the stripes are missing, or the pavement markings and stuff, but I assume they will be coming maybe tomorrow or sometime after the weekend. I'd also say that the asphalt job they did is much, much better than what it was. And again, we agreed a long time ago that they were marginal at best, and tonight it looked pretty doggone good. So thanks again to the town for listening to us and getting something done. And again, thanks to Ryan and Steve for their help as well. Have a good weekend and a safe Memorial Day.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no one come forward, we'll close that section of public comment. Move on to council comment. Ms. Loudon. Mr. Roberts.
Nothing to report from this week. I did have an opportunity to attend the Hickory 4th grade end of the year celebration with some of the children receiving the Presidential Education Awards today, and it was quite outstanding.
That's good stuff. That's all you got. Sorry.
That's it.
Mr. Zuzen.
Let's see, we participated in the AJAA outing with my colleagues here on the council. On the 15th, I attended the RDC meeting. And on the 17th, we attended the Bubba's 33 ribbon cutting. That's it.
Let's say I attended a presentation. You guys will like this. I attended a presentation by LHC Leadership in Henry County. One of their capstone team has a project. They're wanting to build a single website location for candidate information for completely across the county. A place where residents can look up what information candidates will provide about themselves, website, platform, vision, whatever. I think this seems like a fantastic idea to better inform our residents about their prospective elected officials. But I do believe they're planning on having this in place before the end of this year's, or by this year's election. The AJA golf outing was fantastic. Great organization to support. Bubba's 33 grand opening was excellent as well. And I have not had the pleasure yet to try it, but I'm actually very excited to. I will take the blame here. We did not appoint a school board, or a liaison to the Avon School Board. I am doing that now. I will appoint myself. Mr. Roberts actually volunteered to back me up. He's been sort of playing in that role since the beginning of this year. So, and then last, congratulations to all the 2023 grads. Tomorrow's a big day. So that's it for me. Next item on the agenda, new business, network expansions for data storage. And I believe you're speaking to this one, right, Brian?
Yes, sir. Brian Nugent, Deputy Chief of the Investigations Division. I had submitted a memo to everybody for your consideration along with 2 quotes to clarify kind of where we've been and where we're headed to regarding our technology. We were fortunate to have had the support previously of Hendricks County Prosecutor's Office to help us fund and support our cell phone forensics network. This is an evolving entity and responsibility that continues to grow in many ways. As a result of our partnership with the Indiana Crime Guns Task Force, that team actually submitted an opportunity for agencies to request revenue as reimbursement for previously existing softwares and storage devices. In March of 2023, Chief Stoops submitted that, and the Clerk's Treasurer's Office actually receipted a total of $34,605 of that revenue being reimbursed directly to the town. This is revenue that we already have in our possession, and so we're trying to stay ahead of the curve, if you would. We have a software system that requires a renewal. This is a software system that allows us to get into electronic devices and recover evidence that's critical to some of our most serious cases that we investigate. In addition to that, we have had a need to expand our storage devices for the capacity of these devices that we're examining. And this would also give us a little bit more room on our network storage for all of our dash cams and our body cam recordings as well. So you do have 2 quotes in front of you today. One of them is from Magnet Electronics in the amount of $20,120. That supports what is the software system for what's known as Gray Key, as well as the extraction device that we have to have in order to plug those devices in. Your second quote you have is from Proactive Networking. That's our IT provider in the amount of $12,438.40. That will actually bring to us a 72 terabyte appliance to expand our data storage capacity. My belief is that you'll probably want to do in 2 different motions for approval of these expenses, but that would obviously be at your discretion if that's what you felt you needed to do. With that being the case, the remaining balance of this revenue is in excess of $2,000, which would be allocated back into our budget at the end of your additional appropriation that we work with alongside with Julie. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions or clarifications regarding the memo or the pricing, but that's what our request is today.
I've got one.
Yes, sir.
Is 72 terabytes enough?
It is, considering right now the data storage that we have allocated for cell phone forensics currently is about 13 terabytes. We're also realizing our data storage needs are continuing to grow with the high resolution body cameras that we have and staying in compliance with retention rules, records, and state mandates to ensure that we can keep these on file for any public records requests, criminal convictions. Right now, your entire network itself is about 35 terabytes, including all of that data storage. So we'll be able to use some of that, but we'll also expand with this 72 terabyte appliance.
Thank you. That's all.
Yes, sir.
You already answered my question offline, so.
Very well, very well.
Any,
Make a motion that we approve Proactive Networking, Inc. estimate of $12,438.40 and the Magnet Forensics quotation in the amount of $20,120, totaling no more than $32,558.40.
Second.
we have a first and a second. I've just got one question, Dan. We're good to keep those together as one motion. Roger that. Thank you. Kathy, would you mind taking a roll call vote, please?
Greg Zuzen,
4.
Don Loudon. 4. Robert Pope,
4.
Tim Roberts.
4.
Thank you very much.
Make it happen. Thanks,
sir.
man. Next item on the agenda, we did that one. Change order 2022 CCMG project. Steve, are you speaking to this one?
Yeah, I think I will.
Okay.
Steve Moore, Public Works Director. Never mind. They gave us a really high quote, and I had it redesigned. So we are going to get new quotes, probably for about 10% of what was quoted. So you can just disregard that item.
Do we need to make a motion to
Yeah, we'd ask
table
you guys
that?
to table it.
Yep.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we table, is it just the change order?
Just a change order.
I make a motion that we table the change order 2022 CCMG project to a future council meeting.
I'll second that.
We've got a first and a second. Kathy, would you take a roll call vote, please?
Robert Pope,
Four.
Greg Zuzen,
Four.
Don Loudon. 4. Tim Roberts.
4.
Thanks, Steve. Next item on the agenda, community crossing grant agreement. Ryan, you're speaking to, okay.
Yeah, so as you guys we made you aware, the state has local funding for programs. And so Steve and his staff did a wonderful job and actually applied for a grant. And we are happy to say that we were awarded $992,354.89. And in order to make that happen, we have to sign an agreement with NDOT. And so this is the agreement basically acknowledging it. It lists the roads, it lists the grant amount. And so we do recommend approval. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great job, by the way. Additional $1 million for road projects. That's fantastic. I'm sorry, any questions, council? Anyone? If not, would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the community crossing grant agreement as written.
I'll second.
So I can say the amount if you want, but
Dan, does that require the amount? It's just the agreement.
No, if you really agree to the terms of the agreement, the grant amount is in the agreement, but not necessary.
Roger. Kathy, we have a first and a second. Would you take a roll call vote, please?
Don Loudon,
4.
Greg Zuzen,
4.
Robert Pope,
Four.
Tim Roberts.
4.
Next item on the agenda, award 2023 CCMG bid.
Yep, Steve Moore again. So we did take bids for that grant, and we received one that was a little higher than our estimate and 2 that were lower. And so we're very happy about that. The lowest bid was from DC Construction in the amount of $1,356,057.28. DC did our paving for our 2020, I think it was, a paving project. So we're familiar with them and we're comfortable with them doing the project. So I recommend that you approve the bid of DC Construction in the amount of $1,356,057.28.
Question I have is because this is less than what we just approved over here on the community crossing, when you add the 2 up, you're going to do other road maintenance. Do you have a
Yeah, so actually.
idea of where this is going to take place?
Yeah, so actually, because they are lower, what I would hope that you could do is actually authorize amount not to exceed the total amount of the grant, which would be $1,984,709.79. Kind of
You
like.
have to do that in order to get.
Right. If we don't use the entire amount, then we have to cut a check back to NDOT for their half of the amount that we didn't use. So we may use that amount. I just signed an agreement today to do some additional design work on Raceway Road to hopefully get more clearance underneath the bridge. And so I think we'll burn through some of this extra money there. But I don't think we'll use all of it. What'll happen then in October when there's another call for projects, whatever the balance is, if we close out in time, we can ask for extra. My guess is we won't close out in time. We just, then they have to ask in the next spring on that call for projects for the limit of that grant.
Well, I don't want to give it back because I'm sure we have projects that we can use.
Well, we can only use it for what we've been approved for though. So like, I can't take it over to a road that was not included in the submittal. Okay. So because we got better pricing, we can maybe do some extra full depth patching. We can increase things within the limits of our construction. We can't add construction areas.
So we can only use those funds for this project description that you have right here?
Yeah. So the roads that are in there, that's what I'm saying. So Raceway Road, we'll burn through some extra money on Raceway Road. I don't know how much extra, but we'll burn through some extra. We may burn through some extra other places too, as we go through it. Now that I know I have extra, I can look at it a little closer and see if there's some things that we need in those areas. I don't want to waste the money, but but if we need something, then I would add it to it. Otherwise, I'd rather give the money back than waste it.
Any other questions? If not, would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the bid for DC Construction Services in the amount of $1,356,057.28 for the 2023-1 CCMG paving project and not to exceed $1,984,709.79.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Kathy, would you take a roll call vote, please?
Tim Roberts,
Four.
Greg Zuzen,
4.
Don Loudon,
4.
Robert Pope,
4.
Perfect, and thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Next item on the agenda, consideration of tax abatement compliance forms. I assume, Mr. Taylor, you're speaking to this one.
Good evening, John Taylor, Economic Development Director. We have a few tax abatements that need to be reconsidered. I think your first one is Harlan Bagel Supply Company. Harlan, when they first came and got their abatement, they had promised 700 jobs, and they've only have 407. As they've told us every year, they have trouble finding people. But if they have 700, their wages were going to be $19,000 a year, and their 407 are making $55,000 a year. So in terms of that, dollar-wise, they're in compliance. They estimated to invest $10 million. They only invested $8,700,000. So we've had Harlan come in before, and they've explained to you how difficult it is for them to find people. Based on that, you've always given them their compliance, so it's up to you. My recommendation is that you continue to pass this through.
Well, the offsetting item is they have more capital improvements they bought, so where was it? They were gonna do 8,700,000 and they were,
So they were going to do 10, they did 8,700,000.
so. My only question is, how many years is left on this abatement? 2?
2 or 3?
Are we on Harlan?
Yeah.
I think this is actually the last year
Oh,
of Harlan. And quite honestly, I think it actually last year was the last year, but they started turning the compliance form. So I would still say we should still take action. We'll submit it to the auditor. We don't not want to do it. And if they did actually have a year left, not let them get it, just because of the act. So I still put it on the agenda. We'll verify it with the auditor. The auditor is tracking it. On the auditor spreadsheet, it shows that it no longer exists. So I'll verify that, but since we were doing all of these, we're supposed to get them done. I still wanted it on there to get it approved.
If you could put that on there the next time when we receive these, because that'll be a question we're always gonna ask, how many years is left?
Yep, we'll start doing that. And Suzanne's created a spreadsheet to track it. We haven't been doing that in the past, but we will be doing that moving forward.
So if a motion's made, does it need to say that we're approving it contingent upon the auditor verifying that?
Dan's shaking his head no, so I think that's the short answer.
I don't think you have to, but
I agree. Well, here's the thing is, this is personal property. The estimated start date was 2014, but the actual completion date was 2017. And so they are not allowed a deduction for personal property equipment that they purchased until they put it in service. And so a 10-year abatement that started in 2017 might still have some life on it. So the assessor is the one who determines when the equipment was placed into service when he or she does the assessment. So the assessor starts the clock. We don't start the clock. And often you may have approved it 8 years before, but their abatement begins when they place that equipment into service. So these personal property ones are a little different than real estate. And so we don't know when it started. We're actually, no one tells us that. The county assessor will take care of that.
Okay.
So all you are doing when you review these, and it's on page 2 of these applications, is you are just certifying that the applicant is substantially compliant with what they represented to you all those years ago, and that they should, and that you believe they should be, that they should get the abatement they requested and that you've already approved. You're just one step in the process, then it goes to the county assessor, and the county assessor does whatever they're supposed to do, which would be check the clock. Does that help?
John, is it your opinion that they substantially comply?
Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, would anyone like to make a motion? You seem like you were ready for it, Don. Ready to make a motion.
No, I wanted a clarification on that.
I will make a motion that we approve the compliance form for Harlem Bakeries as presented, the tax abatement compliance form as presented.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Kathy, would you mind taking a roll call vote, please?
Tim Roberts.
4.
Greg Zuzen,
4.
Robert Pope,
4.
Dawn Loudon,
4.
Next one is.
Actually, the next two are the same company, Granite,
Yes, yep.
which is formerly the DRG buildings on Ronald Reagan, are actually on Veterans Drive. DRG has sold those buildings to a REIT out of Dallas, Texas, by the name of Granite. The assessed value of each building is, on the larger of the two buildings, is $36,955,000. The smaller two, $17,326,000. I will tell you that they sold for substantially more than that, and that DRG has asked me to see if there's any other property available, including anything that the Mormon Church may want to sell. They still want to continue to develop in our community. But both of these, this is the first year assessment, so they're in compliance because this is a whole lot more than they said they were going to build.
What's the estimated start date, actual date? They didn't fill that in on either one of these.
Well, this is, I mean, they're just starting now because the buildings are just now available for rent.
Yeah, this is real estate, a little different.
Make a motion that we approve the tax abatement for Granite for CF Form 5176-10144 and 51766-10207 as presented.
Second.
Just so we're clear, do you mean that you want to make a finding they're in substantial compliance with their tax abatement? I think you said approve their tax abatement. I just would probably want to make it clear that what we're doing is finding the substantial compliance for it.
Yeah, their tax abatement is already approved. This is just finding them in compliance.
I second what Mr. Taylor said.
Thank you. I just want to make sure we're doing it.
Okay.
You amended your motion to.
I did.
Dawn, do you still keep? Roger, thank you. We have a first and a second. Kathy, would you mind taking a roll call vote, please?
Greg Zuzen,
4.
Dawn Loudon,
4.
Tim Roberts.
4.
Robert Pope,
4. Next one looks like the same.
Same
Next two.
company. It's the building right next door. It's the 270,000 square foot building. Its value is $17,326,000. Same developer, same company.
We did both
did
of those.
both, right?
We
Did
did both
both?
those.
Yeah, we just did
We're
both.
on to the
Okay,
Chicago
I'm
Industrial.
sorry. I thought you only read the one.
Okay.
Okay,
And I amended it.
thank you. Taylors don't listen. Well, this one probably does. The next one's Chicago Industrial. That's the 891 square feet building on 100 South. They said it was going to be 71,200,000, and by golly, that's what they say it is, 70,200,000. So this is their first building. This is their first big building. The other one will be assessed next year.
Again, same thing. Would you say that they're
They're in compliance.
What was the S word? Significantly?
Substantial.
Substantially in compliance, yes.
Thank you, John. Any further questions, or would anyone like to make a motion?
So no one's really assessed this one yet. This one is the proposed project it's showing.
Well, they received their, is this, don't know if this is their, I apologize.
The first one is actually the 1,000,000 square foot one, so this is the one under construction, so it's probably a partial assessment. The second one is actually, so remember it's
Yeah, yeah,
confusing
they're
because the
backwards.
first one they built was actually building 2. But the one that's under construction now is building 1. So the first one is building 1. The second one that is in front of you is building 2, which is the
Does this-
smaller building.
This one just says proposed, right?
It shows a description,
Yeah, I
construction
would
of
say description of
83,609.
construction of 1,008,899.
Construction of 1,000,008. I make a motion that we approve that Chicago Industrial Investments is in substantial compliance with their CF-1 ALC1 and ALC2 tax abatement reporting.
You made a motion on both.
Yes.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second for both of those. Kathy, would you mind taking a roll call vote, please?
Robert Pope,
4.
Don Loudon,
For,
Greg Zuzen,
4.
Tim Roberts.
4.
And your last one is Van Trust. That's up at Avon Landing. And that was a 300,000 square foot building with an assessment, a partial assessment of 13,550,000, and their investment is 27,100,000. So they're in compliance.
Any questions? Or would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve that COI Avon Landings Building LLC is in substantial compliance as presented.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Kathy, would you mind taking roll call, please? Roll call vote, please.
Robert Pope,
4.
Tim Roberts,
4.
Greg Zuzen,
4.
Don Loudon.
for,
Okay, just a couple of things, since tonight's not a night that we normally give you updates, but I have a couple of updates I want to give you. My board said no to our request for a grant for the model of Easton Gray. In the email, there was no description as to why they said no. I was surprised because when we first talked to them, they said, no one's ever done this before. This is wonderful. And then they said, no, they don't want to do it. So we're not going to get that money. That's not to say we're not going to get it done. We're going to find another way. So I told you DRG sold both of their buildings, but they want to continue to develop in the community. I'm going to reach out to Salt Lake and see if there's any property there, because they told me they may want to sell some of their property. If they do, then they would like to develop. And they've also said that if the church has property in Brownsburg they want to sell, they'd like to develop that as well. And then Kern Darling, I did talk to him, and he said also that he'd like to buy some property. He wants me to put him in touch with the Mormon Church in the event that they have additional property to sell. Kern would like to build more in the community as well. So we have developers excited about Avon. And it's really thanks to Ryan and all of you, because you're the ones that have helped us to set the table for economic development. So, thank you very much.
thanks, John.
Thanks, John. Next item on the agenda, final reading ordinance 2023-08, amending the 2023 salary ordinance. Dan or Brian? Brian?
I'll do it. Again, you guys did a first reading previously for this one. There were 3 amendments that it was making. One, allowing the double pay for the police department for their grant. 2, adding, as everyone's aware, at the last meeting, we agreed to take on employees from the AJAA, so it's adding those positions into the salary ordinance. And then the third was approving the salary for the GIS position that the Public Works Department is proposing. And so this is your final reading. Happy to answer any questions.
Hearing no questions, would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 2023-08.
Got a first? I'll second this one. Kathy, would you mind taking a roll call vote, please?
Tim Roberts,
4.
Don Loudon,
4.
Greg Zuzen,
4.
Robert Pope,
4. Next item, final reading ordinance 2023-09, amending purchasing authority.
Yes, this ordinance would amend your section 362, which are your policies regarding purchasing rules. The first one is that it just cleans up who the purchasing agents are for the town. And some of this has to do with the creation of new positions and elimination of positions. And so this would track with your current titles, and that's important since the authority is based upon the titles. And then on the next page, it rewrites 363, which are the purchasing rules, to again allow some flexibility on purchasing agents for the purchasing of supplies and services. At the same time, it does limit and have rules that would seek to impose restrictions on that authority. And these match pretty closely with what the council said they want and the staff has asked for. And so it makes the rules about the purchasing authority, how high it goes, what purchases must receive your approval or not, and what sort of limitations there are, and reminding purchasing agents that they have to not artificially divide purchases, follow internal control policies, and when they might have to seek the input of either the council or the town attorney. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 2023-09, amending the town purchasing policy.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Kathy, would you mind taking a roll call vote, please?
Don Loudon,
4.
Greg Zuzen,
4.
Robert Pope,
4.
Tim Roberts,
4.
Excellent. Next item on the agenda, final reading ordinance 2023-10, Central Indiana Regional Development Authority membership.
Yeah, so as the council is aware, we've had some discussions. This is Central Indiana Regional Development Authority is a new organization created around supporting economic development in the Central Indiana region. We're trying to regionalize that. And so it is right in its infancy right now, kind of developing. And it was my recommendation that the town council join that group. And in order to do that, you do have to pass this resolution. Happy to answer any questions.
Definitely want us to be a part of this as it's growing up, have some kind of say. I will make a motion. Forgive me. Are there any questions? Anyone further questions? I will make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2023-10 Central Indiana Regional Development Authority membership as presented.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Kathy, would you mind taking a roll call vote, please?
Greg Zuzen,
4.
Tim Roberts,
4.
Robert Pope,
4.
Don Loudon,
4.
Next item, I skipped one, sorry. Resolution 2023-05, adopting strategic economic development plan for CERTA.
Right, so since you guys just adopted the ordinance joining CERTA, it actually says once we join it that we have to actually adopt the economic development plan. And so that this resolution is to adopt the economic development plan. In general, I know I've shared with all of you that there's the SEDS that came out that I had provided a copy. We also have our comprehensive plan, which talks about the kind of things that we want to do. Quite honestly, and not surprisingly, the things that we want to do are things that other communities in our region want to do as well. So, supporting high-paying jobs and tech, medical, whatever it may be. And so, again, I think this is pretty consistent with the things and the vision that the town has had. So in order to continue our relationship with CERTA, we do need to pass that. So we do recommend you pass this resolution. Happy to answer any questions.
Dane, have you had an opportunity to look through this agreement? Everything's kosher.
I have no concerns.
I
Thank you,
make a
sir.
motion, we approve resolution 2023-05, adopting strategic economic development plan for CERTA.
I'll second. Kathy, would you mind taking a roll call vote, please?
Don Loudon,
4.
Robert Pope,
4.
Tim Roberts,
4.
Greg Zuzen,
4.
Next item on the agenda, resolution 2023-06, interlocal agreement with Hendricks County for our bridge.
Yeah, this is a little unusual for you guys to see a bridge project, but this is actually for the Dan Jones widening Phase 2, which is from County Road 100 South to County Road 150 South. And if you don't know, it's called a bridge technically, but there's a culvert underneath 150 South. And so if you go down there, you look on both sides, you can kind of see the box culvert there. When we do the roundabout, we actually have to change the skew of that culvert, and we actually have to extend the length of it to be able to do our improvements. So we have to replace that culvert basically and put in a new one. The county is actually the jurisdiction that's responsible for the maintenance and the construction of bridges. But when we do a project, the county says, hey, community, town, whoever you are, you have to replace our bridge as part of that project. So it is a part of our project, but the NDOT has insisted that we have an interlocal between the town and the county in order for us to do it. So this basically just lays out the terms of that. It's pretty basic. It says the town will manage the construction, we'll pay for the construction, which again, we do have federal funds to help support the construction of the project. But the county does have the ability to review and approve the plans, which is, we do this anyway. And so really this resolution in the interlocal substantiates basically what we're already doing. Happy to answer any questions.
And we're talking where all the white stones are, correct? On Oriole Way there?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, because when I read this, I was thinking the bridge over the railroad tracks. And I'm like, wait a minute. They're not giving us any money and they're putting us in charge of that project? Wait, this isn't right.
Oh, yeah, no, not the Dan Jones Bridge.
Okay.
This is the culvert under 150 in Dan Jones.
Well, and it said bridge design, so but I didn't know where bridge 251 was.
Right. Yep.
Okay. Oof.
I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution 2023-06 for approving the interlocal agreement between the town of Avon, state of Indiana, and Hendricks County for public highway improvement project.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Kathy, would you mind taking a roll call vote, please?
Robert Pope,
4.
Don Loudon,
4.
Greg Zuzen,
4.
Tim Roberts.
4.
Excellent. Next item, legal counsel report. Mr. Taylor.
Nothing to report tonight.
Welcome back.
We will have new laws take effect July 1st, so you'll be getting a summary of those, the ones that require, some will require action. We'll point that out to you, what you're going to need to do to comply. Others are, some things will be just for information. There were some pretty significant changes made on things that will affect your budget. So tax revenue, levy control. So we've already started writing these summaries for you. The big one is the state's going to limit the amount of growth in your budget levy growth. You know, it's always been tied to a formula, and with inflation, I think the state's worried that it'll go too high. And so it's going to be 4% or 80% of what it would be under the formula. So you're going to see a new feature to your budget cycle that we're going to have to pay attention to. And it's not going to be done the way it was in the past. And so there are a couple big issues like that, but also then if there are actions that your departments need to take or ordinances that need to be adopted, we'll lay those out for you and answer any questions you have. So we should have that for you next meeting. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, the second of 2 public comment opportunities. Please come forward to the microphone, state your name and address, and limit your time to 3 minutes. Seeing no one jump up, we'll close that section of public comment opportunity. Second chance, second round, council comment. Anyone?
I was going through some of my council binders, that we all get when we come on council. And I think my ordinance book is way out of date. Could we get updated ordinance books for each of us?
Can we do better than that? We've actually done Municicode. So if you actually go to the website, did I say it wrong? Yep. Okay. What did I call it?
Municicode?
Municipal, what's it called?
Unicode.
Municode. I was so close. Sorry, Jared. I offended Jared.
Tomato.
But it's, if you go to our website, that's actually the best way to do it. So actually, like when you adopt ordinances today, actually Anna and Mitchell almost instantaneously replace those. So as soon as you're doing them, they actually take place and they're updated on there.
So do you want our
Inside.
old ones back?
Yeah, or either that, just recycle them if you don't want to keep them anymore. Because yes, what you have is like 7 or 8 years old. It's not anywhere near relevant. So I think Tim experienced some of that when he came on board, that he was looking through that too, and it's not very accurate. So
Kept me up all night.
good question, though.
Anyone else? Nothing? Council calendar, Ryan?
Next meeting is June 8th, 7 PM. We do have another work session. I know you guys just love these work sessions. So work session at 5:30 PM.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.